Rioters burned American flags, chanted "Death to ICE," and spray-painted anti-American slogans on buildings. But President Trump will never allow mob rule to prevail in America. The most basic duty of government is to preserve law and order, and this administration embraces that sacred responsibility. Democrats like Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass shamefully failed to meet their sworn obligations to their citizens. They didn't have the courage to do the right thing and protect law-abiding Californians from rioters. That's why President Trump deployed the National Guard and mobilized Marines to end the chaos and restore law and order. The mob violence is being stomped out. The criminals responsible will be swiftly brought to justice, and the Trump administration's operations to arrest illegal aliens are continuing unabated. When the initial immigration enforcement actions took place on June 6th, Mayor Bass took to social media to say she was deeply angered by what has taken place. Mayor Bass then embarked on one of the most outrageous campaign of lies this country has ever seen from an elected official, blaming President Trump and brave law enforcement officers for the violence. She accused heroic American immigration and customs enforcement officers targeting illegal alien murderers, rapists, and pedophiles of, quote, sowing terror in communities and disrupting basic principles of safety in our city. Around the same time, Governor Newsom claimed that immigration enforcement actions were causing chaos. That's how radical Democrats have become. Their opposition to President Trump has forced them to side with illegal alien criminals in their communities and violent rioters and looters over law enforcement officers who are just doing their jobs. Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom fanned the flames and demonized our brave ICE officers. Instead of defending their city and their state, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom claimed that in order for the riots and the violence to stop, ICE needed to leave and immigration raids must end. In other words, the position of the Democrat Party is that the federal government is not allowed to enforce our laws and to arrest and deport illegal alien criminals. They're attempting to use a violent mob as a weapon against their own constituents to prevent the enforcement of immigration law. This is deeply un-American and morally reprehensible. President Trump received a clear mandate from voters to reverse the illegal invasion ushered in by Joe Biden's open border and to end the lawlessness represented by Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom's California. President Trump promised to carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history, and left-wing riots will not deter him in that effort. Sanctuary cities and states will no longer be allowed to shield illegal criminals from deportation. Just take a look at some of the illegal monsters who were taken off the streets in Los Angeles in recent days. A Vietnamese national and known gang member with a conviction for second-degree murder. A Mexican national with convictions for child molestation who was armed with a dangerous weapon and had previous arrests for robbery and domestic violence. A Filipino national with convictions of rape, assault, burglary, and theft. A Mexican national convicted of statutory rape, narcotics violations, and hit and run. A Nicaraguan national with convictions for domestic violence and hit and run, and a previous arrest for willful cruelty to a child. And an illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested after allegedly throwing a Molotov cocktail at law enforcement officers during the Paramount riots on Saturday. He is now being charged with attempted murder. Law-abiding American citizens do not want these public safety threats living in their communities, no matter what Democrats like Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom may claim. And let this be an unequivocal message to left-wing radicals in other parts of the country who are thinking about copycatting the violence in an effort to stop this administration's mass deportation efforts. You will not succeed. Any lawlessness will only strengthen this president's resolve to defend the majority of Americans who want to live their lives peacefully, free from the fear of violent criminal illegal aliens. As President Trump said, order will be maintained and illegal aliens will be expelled from our country. In economic news, the latest Consumer Price Index inflation report came in today below expectations again. Since President Trump took office, inflation has come in below economics expectations every single month. Core inflation held steady and remains at the lowest level since March of 2021. Wage growth remains strong. The average private sector worker is on track to see their real earnings increase by around $1,200 adjusted for inflation. And prices continue to fall for everyday Americans. Energy prices fell from April to May. Gasoline has fallen each month since President Trump took office, down 12% over the past year. And prices for meat, poultry, eggs, and fish are all down from April to May as well. Under President Trump's strong leadership, America is beating Joe Biden's record high inflation crisis. And once the One Big Beautiful Bill passes, our economy will boom like never before. This bill is the largest tax cut for middle-class Americans in history. The One Big Beautiful Bill gives a 15% tax cut to working Americans and families. We'll see increased take-home pay of $10,000 per year. The One Big Beautiful Bill expands the child tax credit to $2,500 for more than 40 million American families with children. And the One Big Beautiful Bill cuts taxes for overtime workers, saving them nearly $2,000 per year, and ends taxes on tips, saving tipped workers nearly $2,000 per year as well. All of these provisions are broadly popular with an overwhelming support from the American people. We need Republicans in Congress to finish the job and send the One Big Beautiful Bill back to President Trump's desk for his signature as soon as possible. With that, we'll get to questions. I'm sure you have many of them today. Here in our new media seat is Elizabeth Mitchell, the White House correspondent for the Daily Signal, who's not afforded a seat in this room, but today she is. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I have two questions, if that's okay. First, a few Republicans on Capitol Hill are suggesting that President Trump scale back deportations, even as ICE is reportedly gearing up for raids in 5 more Democrat-led areas. Would anything dissuade President Trump, and would he consider sending in Marines if anti-ICE violence occurs in these cities?
Well, I think I may have just answered both of your questions with my opening monologue. The Trump administration is going to continue the mass deportation effort that the president promised the American public. Many of you were at those rallies in cities and communities across the country when the president spoke about his commitment to removing violent illegal criminals and anyone who has broken our nation's immigration laws from American communities. And God bless our ICE and Border Patrol who are working hard on that effort. This administration is going to continue that. And it's part of the reason we do need the One Big Beautiful Bill to pass as well, may I add, because the bill provides funding to hire more ICE agents and Border Patrol agents, more personnel on the ground to conduct this important public safety work.
Thank you. And on another topic, President Trump has indicated that aides to former President Biden who used the auto pen to sign major orders and pardons should be investigated for potential crimes. Does he think that Biden allowing, or at least being negligently unaware of this activity, was an impeachable offense?
I haven't heard the president address whether it's an impeachable offense, but it could perhaps be a criminal offense, especially on behalf of staffers who may have been utilizing the president's signature without his authority or consent. I understand that Republicans on the Hill are moving in the right direction to call attention to this and to bring in some former White House staffers who clearly knew more than they ever shared and never addressed with the American public. And so we look forward to seeing where this investigation continues. And I know the Department of Justice is also looking into the matter as well. Alex, good to see you today.
Good to see you, Caroline. Thank you. You mentioned foreign flags being blown during these protests. There are protests and activities being organized for this weekend. Part of it are Democrats saying they want to reclaim the American flag. It's also being titled No King's Day. Does the president see himself as a king, and does the White House expect to see American flags being flown during these protests this weekend?
The president views himself as the president of the United States of America. This is a constitutional republic, and we want to see all of our citizens be proud of the country in which they are given the privilege and the blessing to live. And I think that those images of foreign flags being waved with, by illegal criminals and by violent rioters in the face of cars blowing up and of flames in the city. I have photos of that here to show you. With this violence and destruction that occurred is an image that Governor Gavin Newsom owns. This is his city, and President Trump saw these images, and he said that is not going to be accepted or tolerated, and hence why he deployed the National Guard and United States Marines who have helped to quell that violence.
If I can ask another.
Sure.
If the president does end up deploying any National Guard members, perhaps Marines, to blue states, would he be in contact with the governors prior to this? Would it be necessary?
Well, President Trump was in contact with Governor Gavin Newsom, despite some of the claims he's made made in the last couple of days. The president called the governor on Friday evening and told him to let law enforcement in California do their jobs. And the Los Angeles Police Department, by the way, are fantastic people. They are trying to do the work that they've so bravely signed up to do, to enforce the law. But they have been kneecapped by incompetent Democrat policies and Democrat politicians who do not allow their local law enforcement to correspond and coordinate with federal immigration authorities. And so the president gave Gavin Newsom a warning and said, get it together. 24 hours later, we saw more images like this. We heard about Border Patrol agents who were being the target of rocks. These illegal criminals were throwing rocks at our Border Patrol and ICE agents, and so the president made the decision to federalize California's National Guard. Stephanie.
Thank you. Two questions on the China trade deal, if I may. Sure. First, will the president formally sign the trade deal, and if so, when? Secretary Lutnick sort of alluded to the fact that it might be in a couple of days, but I'm curious if there's anything more specific to read out.
Sure. Well, I do have more specifics for you. I spoke to the president about this. He spoke to his trade team, who did a fantastic job negotiating this on behalf of the United States and meeting with their Chinese counterparts. The president is talking to them about the details of it now. But what the president heard, he liked. China has agreed to open their markets to the United States separately of this deal. And when it comes to this deal, we're going back to the terms that were agreed upon in Geneva for the release of some of those critical minerals and the magnets from China to the United States. And we have agreed to fully comply with the Geneva Agreement as well. So the president is reviewing the details of that with his trade team now, and you'll hear more from him, I'm sure.
And then the second question, on tariffs, Secretary Lutnick suggested that the tariffs would remain unchanged with China. I'm wondering if there's any room for them to negotiate even lower, or if this is the floor.
I won't get ahead of any further negotiations. We're in a great place right now, and I would add that this is the result of a lot of hard work from the president and his team, and the president has a good and respectful relationship with President Xi, and as you know, they had a direct conversation which led to this success that the president announced on Truth Social this morning. JJ.
On North Korea, has the president tried to resume dialogue with Kim Jong-un? There's some reporting that the president sent a letter and tried to give it to Kim Jong-un through some North Korean diplomats through the UN, and they declined to take it and send it to Kim Jong-un.
The president remains receptive to correspondence with Kim Jong-un, and he'd like to see the progress that was made at that summit in Singapore, which I know you covered in 2018 during his first term. As for specific correspondence, I'll leave that to the president to answer. Sure.
Good afternoon. Yeah, thanks. Back to the trade deal negotiations with China. Jimmy Lai, as you know, is a pro-democracy advocate, Catholic, sitting in solitary confinement in Hong Kong as we speak. His family believes he may be close to death. Did his name come up, Jimmy Lai's name come up in these negotiations with China?
Not to my knowledge. I understand the negotiations were very much focused on our trade and economic relationship with China.
Does the president believe he can free Jimmy Lai from prison?
I'll check with the president. It's certainly an important issue, and I'll get back to you.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday that paid insurrectionists were behind or involved in the protests in Los Angeles. Does the White House have any more details about who they believe is paying these protesters?
The president spoke about this last night when he returned from Fort Bragg, because frankly, the president has a lot of common sense. And if you look at some of the imagery that we have received from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and law enforcement who are on the ground, you will see boxes and boxes of very professionalized masks and rioting equipment being dropped off for these protesters. So it's a good question the president is raising, and one we are looking into, about who is funding these insurrectionists and these rioters and these protesters and these illegal criminals. And I have updates for you on the numbers, by the way. Since June 6th, there have been 330 illegal aliens that have been arrested as part of these riots in Los Angeles. 113 of those illegal aliens had prior criminal convictions. And overall, and this includes arrests of American citizens, there's been 157 people arrested for assault and obstruction-related charges, including the attempted murder of a police officer with a Molotov cocktail. So who is funding these illegal aliens who are coming in with this very professional riot gear? It's a question everyone in this room who cares about truth should be asking. And we encourage your help in trying to get to the bottom of that question. Indira.
Thank you, Caroline. About Elon Musk, he issued an apology this morning. Has the president accepted the apology, or does he think it's too little too late?
The president acknowledged the statement that Elon put out this morning, and he is appreciative of it, and we are continuing to focus on the business of the American people.
And has the administration started a review of Musk's government contracts, something that the president said he's considering?
What do you mean by that?
Has the administration started a review of the contracts that Musk and his companies currently have?
No efforts have been made on that front, as far as I'm aware.
And just one more, if I may, on just everything sort of we've seen so far with the president's response to the LA protests. There is criticism that seems to suggest that the president responded the way he did because it was a deliberate, calculated attempt to sort of shift focus away from his feud with Musk. How would you respond to that?
The president responded to the LA riots, condemning the violence
from Musk.
That's an incredibly disingenuous attack. The president saw images of Border Patrol and ICE agents being hailed with rocks and Molotov cocktails. He saw vehicles being burned to the ground with illegal aliens flying foreign flags, and that's what prompted the president to have this response that has clearly worked, because last night in Los Angeles, you didn't see many of those images. And I would add the governor and the mayor need to actually do more. I know Gavin Newsom had a big address to the nation last night. I guess he thought that's what it was for maybe his future political ambitions, but he spoke a lot of words. We haven't seen action. California has been a mess for years because of the incompetence of Gavin Newsom, so the president was responding to that only. Caitlin.
Caroline, 2 questions for you.
Sure.
Over the weekend, Secretary Noem sent a memo to the Pentagon asking Secretary Hegseth to have and direct the military that's on the ground in LA to arrest and detain what she said were lawbreakers. Is the president okay with that? And under what authority would the members of the military be able to arrest people inside the United States?
I can't speak for a letter that came from the Department of Homeland Security. I can't speak for the president and what's currently happening on the ground now. And as you know, the president federalized the National Guard under U.S. Code 10, which he has the authority to do. And our United States Marines and the National Guardsmen and women who are on the ground right now are helping to create a peaceful environment for ICE and Border Patrol, who were being, again, hailed with rocks, who were being violently and viciously attacked. They needed reinforcements, and so our United States Marines who are on the ground are providing those reinforcements to ensure the environment is peaceful so that these raids and deportations can continue.
But he realizes they can't actually arrest people unless he invokes the Insurrection Act, which, I mean, seemingly was not something that was in Secretary Noem's memo, a clear distinction she did not make there.
Again, you're trying to conflate a letter that was sent to the Department of Homeland Security to the president's legal authority. The president understands the legal authority that he invoked, and that's the current situation right now.
When it comes to federalizing the National Guard, what is the specific criteria that the president is using for when he's deciding to do that, and in which states?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He wants to see an end to the chaos and the violence. He doesn't want to see law enforcement officers being attacked. He wants to see peace. He wants law-abiding Californians to be able to bring their kids to school, to be able to go to work without seeing this violence in the streets. That's what the president's hoping for, and that's why he's taken this action. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions on 2 separate topics. One has to do with the military parade taking place here in Washington this weekend. There's a lot of security around the White House complex, around the Capitol complex, even along the tidal basin. Is that just proactive? Are you expecting anything in particular in terms of unrest like we've seen in Los Angeles?
These are proactive security measures to protect those marching in the parade, many of whom will be veterans and our brave men and women in uniform and Gold Star families. There's going to be military families from around the country who are flying into this parade. And of course, it's to protect the spectators who will be enjoying this incredibly patriotic show on Saturday. And I hope you all join us there.
And then secondly, Secretary Pete Hegseth testified on the Senate side of the Capitol today.
Yes.
And he was asked about America's, the administration's view of Vladimir Putin's intentions. And specifically, it was asked whether or not his intentions go beyond, his territorial ambitions go beyond Ukraine. When that question was posed to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane replied that he does believe that his territorial ambitions go beyond Ukraine, but Secretary Hegseth says it's not clear at this point. How does the president view this issue?
The president has spoken on this. He said, as he calls it, he believes Ukraine was always the apple of Putin's eye. And he made it very clear to Putin in his first term not to invade Ukraine. Putin didn't invade Ukraine because of President Trump's peace through strength foreign policy agenda and the effective deterrence policies that he implemented in the first term. Unfortunately, because of the weakness and incompetence of the previous administration, Vladimir Putin made the decision to invade Ukraine. And now we have this brutal war, which the president is working very hard to end. Jasmine.
Thanks so much, Caroline. The president warned that any protests on Saturday would be met with force. Can you clarify what kind of protest President Trump does support or find acceptable?
The president absolutely supports peaceful protests. He supports the First Amendment. He supports the right of Americans to make their voices heard. He does not support violence of any kind. He does not support assaulting law enforcement officers who are simply trying to do their job. It's very clear for the president what he supports and what he does not. Unfortunately for Democrats, that line has not been made clear, and they've allowed this unrest and this violence to continue, and the president has had to step in.
So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the military parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question. Raquel.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
Raquel, and then I can go to you, Francis. Go.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I have two questions. One about Israel. Yesterday, the U.S. ambassador to Israel said the U.S. no longer is pursuing the goal of an independent Palestinian state. Can you confirm that the president is no longer supporting a two-state solution? And is President Trump considering diplomatic action against countries who takes action against Israel during next week UN conference?
Right now, the president views the situation in Israel and Gaza as deeply unfortunate and needing to end. And the president is realistic about the current state of affairs in this region of the world. And that's why the president has said the number one focus and priority of the administration is to release all of the hostages from Gaza and to end this conflict as soon as possible. The administration is still pushing very hard for the release of all the hostages. And as for what happens next, clearly Gaza is an uninhabitable place. It needs to be rebuilt with the help of our Arab partners, and the president wants to see that happen as well. Take a couple
Just one on the G7 engagement. President Trump is traveling there on Sunday. Other presidents beyond the G7 leaders are also going. President Lula from Brazil, President Sheinbaum from Mexico, and President Zelensky from Ukraine are also going. Do you have confirmation if President Trump is meeting any other leaders on the sideline of the G7?
Yes.
To know about the Lula engagement.
I can confirm there will be quite a few bilateral meetings between the president and other foreign leaders. The White House is still working very hard to finalize that schedule, and we will provide that for you as soon as we have it.
Great.
Thanks, Caroline. Just back to the China trade deal, can you talk about the status of the export controls that the U.S. imposed? Are those no longer being imposed?
We are fully complying with the Geneva Agreement. Go ahead. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. One foreign question for you and one domestic. The foreign, the president, of course, has said he would lift sanctions on Syria. Is there an executive order coming along soon to go do that? And is the president planning to try to get involved in any kind of a peace agreement between Israel and Syria that would disengage those two?
To the best of my knowledge, the Treasury Department took action after the president made that announcement in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And then on the domestic side, you were just asked about the First Amendment rights issues. In the president's comments yesterday, though, he just said protesters would be strongly dealt with. In your list before, you referred to insurrectionists, rioters, and protesters together. Obviously, they're quite different from your earlier answer. I'm struck by the fact that the president has not at any point said the most important thing here is to protect the First Amendment rights of peaceful protesters. So I'm wondering, where in his hierarchy of interests does he place that? Is the First Amendment protection the most important? Is stopping violence most important? Why is he not out saying all peaceful protesters will be protected?
I think two things can be important at the same time. And the president, as I just answered, supports the right of Americans to peacefully protest. He supports the First Amendment. But that is not the majority of the behavior that we have seen taking place in Los Angeles. We have seen mobs of violent rioters and agitators assaulting law enforcement officers, assaulting our federal immigration authorities. And we have seen, as I said, this goes back to what this administration is trying to do and accomplish, and that's enforcing law and order in our nation's communities. And it's removing public safety threats from communities in Los Angeles.
You're saying the majority have not been peaceful, the majority have been violent.
I just read for you the arrest numbers. We've arrested nearly 400 illegal aliens alone, just illegal aliens who have been arrested in these riots since June 6th, since they began.
Thousands of people on the streets.
Yeah, and we've had hundreds of people who have assaulted law enforcement officers. Are you saying that that's that's appropriate behavior?
No,
Are you
no, I'm
saying
not
that
saying
the
that at all.
president
I'm
should
just
take
trying to
action?
figure out-
The Democrat governor and the Democrat mayor of Los Angeles have failed their citizens. And the majority of Americans, the majority of Californians do not want to see law enforcement officers being assaulted in the streets. And thankfully, the president took action and stepped in to protect our federal law enforcement agents, to protect federal buildings, to protect the federal mission of deporting illegal criminals off of our streets. And that mission will continue every day as far as we're concerned. Thank you, guys.
Okay, there she is, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt starting the press conference by saying bad actors are in the L.A. riots, ending it with Governor Newsom, Karen Bass need to do more, as she just addressed that reporter. Of course, we'll have more on the L.A. riots, the sixth day today, coming up tonight on the News on Merit Evening Edition. Right now, we're going to return you to Dr. Phil. In this episode in progress, bossy husbands and the wives who say they are over their man's critical ways. Stay tuned to that. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
35 cents a day. And your price will never go up. A lifetime rate lock guarantees it. This protection can last a lifetime, too. Some insurance policies end once you reach a certain age. Not this one. Pay your bill, and it's yours to keep for as long as you'd like.
How did you apply? Called for information, got an application, filled it out, sent it back. It took a few minutes. And look at this. They sent me this free beneficiary planner just for calling. I filled in all my important information and final wishes. Now my kids will have everything they need in one place.
Ready to learn more? Call for free information and your free gift. There's no obligation. Every policy we issue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. Why wait? Call now.
Call 1-800-688-1483 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-688-1483. There's no obligation. 1-800-688-1483. Call now.
I didn't name the network Merit by accident. I named it Merit because I think this is a country that was built on hard work, talent, added value, and I think we need to return to that.
Dr. Phil's Merit TV. Credibility you can count on.
Well, we're back with John and Sally after taking a break, and I'm going to do this a little differently. I'm just going to answer questions. How can I help either one of you?
Wow.
Thank you.
We need some communication help. We need some self-esteem help. We need some control help.
I'd like to say a couple things. I have neglected my wife. And a lot of the things that she does, a lot of things we do, it's because I have neglected her over these last years. When we had to move, when we moved away from family, we're trying to get back closer, but I have completely neglected my wife. I have abandoned her. And a lot of the things that I see now where she's reached out for help, I was too busy writing, I was too busy working, I was too busy doing this. I have not been a friend. I have completely neglected her, and it's not necessarily about bossy husbands or about control. I have high expectations, and if she doesn't, let me tell you, my wife keeps the cleanest house in the world, and what happens is when I come home, if there's something on the floor, if the rug needs shook, then I'll shake that. She feels like I'm undermining her job at home, that I'm trying to one-upmanship. And so there's some problems there. Sally, she's put on some weight lately, and it's really distorted her view. And whereas I try to look at things very optimistically in the world, she looks at things pessimistically. But all along during this time, and I think where maybe that's where the food comes in. All along, I have neglected her. Like she would want to go out and do things. She would want to do this. I wouldn't have time, and I have completely neglected my wife.
Do you have a question that I can?
Yeah, the question is, what can I do not to be neglectful? I need to make that commitment. What can I do to be a friend again?
Okay. And can I answer that question?
Yes, sir.
It's all about empathy. It's all about empathy. The quality of a relationship is a function of the extent to which it is built on a solid underlying friendship and it meets the needs of the two people involved. So, what is it that friends do? Friends share things about their life. They're interested in one another's lives. They share stories and victories and tragedies. They laugh and talk. And sometimes I see married couples that'll get up in the morning and walk by each other in the hall and, but yet when they go to work, it's like, hi, Sue, hi, Bill, how you doing? Oh, what'd you do last night? They put more effort into a friendship than they do into their marriage. And so I think you have to work on getting back to being friends. And as I was saying to Jim in y'all's absence, sometimes we quiet ourselves internally by controlling things externally. It's like, okay, if everything's in its place and there's a place for everything, I can feel like things are right with the world. But that's not really true. And we'll be right back. We're not going to just tell stories. We're going to go inside the minds of these killers.
He told me his name was Ted and he was a law student.
Let's break this down for a minute. This was a man who'd make the devil blush with his sins. I want you to walk in the shoes of both perpetrator and prey.
Mystery and Murder. Subscribe on your favorite podcast service.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BCE, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
You can give us a call at our toll-free number, 844-407-6375. You can text Phil to 50505, or you can check out our website, www.drphilgold.com.
All right. No way you can miss it.
An important message for Americans age 50 to 85.
Oh my gosh, you're still using Mom's old coffee pot.
It's my inheritance.
Well, it is a family heirloom.
You know what? The kids can just sell it to pay for my funeral.
It's a good thing you have life insurance.
Life insurance with our family history.
Don't you know about Colonial Penn? It's guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance with no medical questions asked.
I'm on a fixed income.
Who isn't?
You have it?
We all do. John, Maria, even Paul with all of his medical problems.
Colonial Penn.
That's right. Colonial Penn Life Insurance Company. As you get older, your health may change. Colonial Penn understands that. And we don't think it should keep you from getting life insurance to help protect your family. That's why we guarantee acceptance to everyone aged 50 to 85. No health questions, no medical exam. Applying is easy. And you have your choice of options starting at $9.95 a month, a few dollars a week, 35 cents a day. And your price will never go up. A lifetime rate lock guarantees it. This protection can last a lifetime, too. Some insurance policies end once you reach a certain age. Not this one. Pay your bill, and it's yours to keep for as long as you'd like.
How did you apply?
Called for information, got an application, filled it out, sent it back. It took a few minutes. And look at this. They sent me this free beneficiary planner just for calling. I filled in all my important information and final wishes. Now my kids will have everything they need in one place.
Ready to learn more? Call for free information and your free gift. There's no obligation. Every policy we issue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. Why wait? Call now.
Call 1-800-688-1483 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-688-1483. There's no obligation. 1-800-688-1483. Call now.
You two need to really get back to basics. Question, I want you to answer this in a very focused way. Why did you fall in love with this woman? What was it about her that you said, this one I want to stay with?
The first thing I noticed about Sally was her smile and the wagon with 2 little children that she carried around. And then it was that friendship, it was that friendship. We shared our dreams together. We talked about maybe someday starting an orphanage. Dreams like that. We would spend so much time together. And I think that to a large extent.
Cute?
What's that?
Did you think she was cute?
Oh, beautiful.
Did you think
she
think she had a good sense of humor?
Yes. And at the same time, along with all of this, we accepted each other. We listened to each other.
But then we got away from that, right? What was it about him that you fell in love with?
Well, he was nice looking. That was what caught my eye, I guess. But I think, once we got to know each other, we had a good friendship. We really did. He was my best friend. We were involved in things together. And that was something we were close to each other because we had a lot of activities together.
And something that will help you at this point reconnect with her is to learn to quiet yourself internally. Learn to really relax and just kind of let life wash over you a little bit. Because there's time to work, and I've been accused of being a workaholic myself.
That's right. It's true.
My wife out there saying, uh-huh. So I had to say that or I'd lose all credibility.
True.
But, I've had to learn, and I think you would benefit from learning to really quiet yourself internally, calm yourself, and let all the stress and tension go where you have nothing to do, nothing to solve, nothing to conquer. And that's not about being worthless, because I'll promise you, you will be much more effective when you're in harness if you take care of the horse when it's out of harness. You got to fill yourself back up some, because we need change agents in this world. We don't need martyrs. We need somebody that stays in the game, and to do that, you got to take care of yourself, and that means you got to learn some skills to control stress, pressure, anxiety, tension, all the things that can cause a guy to get really intense, because you can get pretty intense, and when you do, then you really speed up, and you say and do things that you don't really mean in the heat of the moment. I mean, couples do that.
And I'm really trying to work on, because I know right now Sally has a real fragile image because of her overweight, and she talks about her overweight.
No. Let's stop. I'm not going to go.
I don't mean that.
John, they're responding to that because they're women, and you're criticizing her for her weight. Now, listen, we're not going there. Stop.
I've never said one thing negative.
No, we're not going there. You're going to listen. Let's focus on what I am, and then we're going to stop this conversation. Because I'm telling you what needs to be done. And I've given you the formula for success in a relationship. I've told you what I think needs to be done to get this back on the right track. And I'm going to make some resources available to you that I think you'd really enjoy. I think you could really throw yourself
Dr.
into
Phil,
it
can I
and
say
enjoy
something
it.
here? It's my wife. She puts herself down all the time about her being over, and that's what I meant. She puts herself down, and that hurts me, because I think she's a beautiful woman, and
I get it, and I think we need to.
In his defense, I'd like to say he has been supportive of since I've gained the weight. He has been very good to me about it.
And if you want to get that done, we'll help you with that. Seriously,
Okay.
we'll help you with
that
that
is
in
an
a very
issue with
healthful,
me.
in a very healthful way. If you want to do that for you, we'll do that. But the expectations, I know, I got a sneaking feeling if I went to my wife and said, you know, there are dishes piled up here, she would hand me some soap and a rag, you know? I mean, so I don't bring it up.
Yes, I would.
I'd have a job if I brought it up.
And see, that's another thing. I'm a firm believer in household chores. I do dishes and I do clean. But see, Sally thinks that when I do that, it undermines her as a stay-at-home.
Well, I'm going to help you get over that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Then he can just
so I do dishes, and I do clean, and I don't mind doing dishes. You know.
When I do them, I'll just break a few, and then she'll say, hey, get out of the way, just let me do it. Works every time, remember that one.
My son learned that, he does that a lot.
But I'm telling you, we need to reduce the stress and pressure here, work on this focus, and I'm going to give you some opportunities to do that. And then we'll see what happens, okay? Give me a chance to work on this? Give me a chance to work on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands or your back or your hips. I'm here to tell you that joint pain doesn't have to be a life sentence. Hi, I'm John Walsh. You know, for 40 years, I've been chasing down the culprits. And now I'm ready to throw the book at joint and muscle pain. That's why there's Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement. So I tried it, and it changed my life. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
Last week, I walked 6 blocks. I was so proud of myself. I ordered Omega XL, and now I have more energy than I ever had. It's been the best thing that I did because it relieves a lot of pain. Everything changed for the best. I can go out, I can hang out with my sisters, I can go anywhere, clean my house, do whatever I can and want to do. Now it's let's go, baby. This product is the best thing. You will remember what did it to you, and it was Omega XL.
That's the truth, the facts, and the hope that Omega XL can bring you. Case closed.
Go to OmegaXL.com/John Walsh or call the number at the bottom of your screen right now to take advantage of this special offer. Buy 1 bottle of Omega XL, get 1 free. That's 2 bottles for only $39.95. Plus, you'll also receive a bottle of Vitamin XL D3 absolutely free. And it's backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, just return the unused portion for a full refund of the purchase price.
If you're living with joint or muscle pain caused by inflammation, try Omega XL and see the difference it can make in your life.
Order now to get this special offer. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3 for only $39.95. Act now.
Sometimes it's hard to see past the looming repair and replacement costs all around your house. Finally, you can stop seeing money and start saving money with First American Home Warranty. First American covers the systems and appliances you depend on every day. Air conditioning, refrigerator, washer and dryer, electrical, plumbing, even your garage door opener, and more.
We've had our hot water tank replaced, washer fixed, with our upstairs and downstairs AC units fixed or replaced.
If there's one guarantee in home ownership, it's that things are going to break down. That's why I tell all my customers, get First American before your next repair.
There's always something that's going to break.
When an appliance or system breaks down, First American sends a trusted contractor to fix it. And if they can't repair the covered item, we'll make sure they replace it.
When you put in a request for service, it's like that.
We had a contractor out within 24 hours because he said, I didn't want you guys to go another day without heat.
As a contractor, they're so easy to deal with. They truly want me to do right by their members.
Members pay low monthly rates with unlimited claims and 24/7 customer service. And filing a claim does not increase your rate.
We've saved thousands of dollars with First American that we've been able to reinvest into our home.
I looked at more than one, and this was the best.
First American has been a trusted name for decades and is highly rated by customers on major review sites.
They follow through on what they say they're going to do. That's everything.
But with all the repairs that have come through First American, the plan has been paid for many times over.
And now you can lock in your low monthly rate. All plans include a no questions asked money back guarantee and flexible payment options so you can never pay for covered repairs again.
Call 1-800-917-5047. That's 1-800-917-5047 for your free no obligation quote. So call now.
Well, I want to thank all of my guests today. You know, one of the things I always tell folks that are up here is, you know, there is a bit of a trade-off. I mean, up here you get up close and personal focus and resources made available to you. And what we get out of it is a teaching tool. And I hope that everybody that's in a relationship will look at the relationships today and say, do I see myself, even in part, on either side of a relationship? Am I being too submissive and not standing up for myself? Am I being too over-controlling and crowding somebody? Because trust me, nobody wants to be treated like a child in an adult relationship, and it never works long term. So if you're in a relationship that has an imbalance in it, work on that. I mean, try to find a way where you treat each other with dignity and respect. If you want long term, that's what it's going to be, is a give and take. Thanks for being here today. So long. There you go. Bye-bye. Welcome to Merritt Street Media. Tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime. It's called Unschooling, where the child directs his or her education through their own interest. You say your children will never set foot in a classroom.
We want them playing all day. They're working on a fairy village, collecting sticks. We're wanting them to think for themselves.
You seem to be thinking for them. Is anybody monitoring what y'all are doing? She says it caused serious problems when she decided to pursue college.
I had almost no math or science background.
Do you feel like you were cheated? Did you know there is a movement in this country where an estimated 200,000 to 400,000 children are not attending a traditional school? Instead of hitting the books and packing a lunch, their parents are leaving it up to them to decide what they want to learn and how they want to learn it. It's called unschooling, where the child, that's right, the child directs his or her education through their own interest, all while allowing their daily experience to help teach them. From building a fairy village out of sticks and moss in an effort to teach geometry and critical thinking, to traveling the open road in a bus instead of sitting in a classroom, tonight's guests claim unschooling is a must for their families. Now, my first guests, Taylor and Nick, say their 3 boys are unschooled, barefoot, and using their curiosity and love of nature as their teacher and lesson plan.
If our kids would ever come to us and ask us for traditional schooling, I would say no. I don't think they would. I think they're having so much fun. I definitely think the public education system gets it wrong. Kids in desks for 7 hours. It's not natural. Your brain's not making enough oxygen if you're sitting. Unschooling is more free. We might not have anything structured in a day. It's not guaranteed that we're gonna do anything that looks like learning, but knowing that no matter what you're doing, you're learning.
Unschooling works for us and our family. I read to them. My 6-year-old's reading comprehension is better than average. I don't know exactly what the metrics are because we don't really follow it.
We're teaching our kids lots of things that weren't covered in public school for us and things that are more important than the Civil War dates or the atomic numbers. Learning happens outside. They're identifying plants because they're genuinely curious about their environment. Our kids have learned gardening, crawfish hunting, fishing, foraging for wild food. They've learned how to care for animals, collect eggs, how to manage a fire if it gets out of control, how to build shelters. Hudson and I have been working on a fairy village, collecting sticks, adding things like moss and mushrooms.
We've hatched our own eggs, so we end up with roosters that we don't need. We don't do extensive butchering, but Hudson's gone through with that whole process with me.
We're not like dependent on the meat that we have here, but it's important skill. That's part of the unschooling for us is if you need to, you know how to turn an animal into meat. There's so many benefits to just being barefoot. It's called grounding. It balances your cardiovascular system. Again, helps you think. It's more conducive to learning. We think that nature goes hand in hand with a healthy life.
You actually have a master's degree,
do.
And it's in interdisciplinary studies, education, recreation.
Yes.
A lot of different disciplines, philosophy. Did it work for you?
I didn't get a job in any of those things, no. But I think some of the things that I learned I could apply into what we're doing now.
Okay. And Nick, you have a master's degree in philosophy.
Correct.
Right. Are you glad you did that?
I wouldn't have paid for it. I don't use it. I could have pursued all the primary literature myself. I met my wife at graduation, but...
well, there you go.
Yeah.
There is that.
Yeah.
Okay. You say your children will never set foot in a classroom.
I don't think so, no. I can't see a reason they would want to go to public school. We have a really strong vision for what we want for our kids in their future. One, we want them to be well-rounded socially. Two, we want them to have a strong foundation of physical health. And I don't think you get that sitting in a desk. We want them playing all day. And then third, we just really want them to have a say in their own life and their own future from an early age. We really do think that they can think for themselves. They are whole humans. And that kids should be able to choose their path sooner in life rather than waiting till 18 or around that age to start taking electives or making decisions like that.
Well, is this about your experience in school? You said school crushed you.
It was not good. Looking back from 5 on, just in school, I knew what I was good at and what I wasn't good at, right? I was good at writing, I was good at public speaking, I was good at art, and that was it. Math, not so much. But when you are forced to do math and like you keep going up this level of, they make you do more of what you're not good at. You know what I mean? They really do. So I didn't get to do extra writing or reading or art, the things I was naturally talented at, but they give you extra periods of math. If that's the one thing you're struggling in, they really lay that on thick. And what that does to self-esteem is it does crush you. Yeah. And it makes you hate learning. You're bored. If you're being really drilled stuff that you don't think is important, that it's not really meeting your natural needs, it makes school just dreadful, honestly.
You think public school doesn't listen to children?
Correct.
They don't hear them, don't tailor things to them, which I can't argue with that. I mean, they kind of have a one-size-fits-all.
Yes.
Right? And you think that's not good for the children?
I don't think so, no.
So you're having them do whatever they want to do, which is like build a fairy village, which is a way to learn geometry, math, angles, things like that in an applied way.
Yes, and they're still really, really young. Right now, Hudson is first grade age, but it'll continue to be things like this, hands-on ways of learning. You can learn math. I think my real struggle with math was that it didn't make sense to me, just doing numbers on a page over and over. There was nothing visual to it. But if they're learning how to, like we're renovating a property, if the boys learn how to build a house, if they're learning math in an applied way, I feel like that's way more effective, and it's gonna stick with them.
And you were pointing out they learn by looking at a speedometer, looking at things just in the real world.
I think there's a quote by John Holt, and it's, we learn and remember the things that we seek out and come across naturally in daily life. I think that is so true. Even as adults, like the stuff we really know and that we're good at, it's something that we've come across and we've found a need, and you're just organically coming across something that you're curious about, passionate about, excited about, then you're gonna want to learn it and you're gonna absorb all of it.
And you're teaching them things like fire safety and hunting and how to survive in the wilderness, things like that, which come in pretty handy.
Yeah, these are things that are just very interesting to boys naturally. And, you know, if we have extra time to develop those skills, why not?
Do you worry that there's a social aspect missing, a relational aspect missing, a competitive aspect missing, the flow of commerce is missing?
We don't want them to get into the flow of commerce, I think. I think like when we look at 9-to-5s and what some people call the rat race, like are people truly happy, right? So it's kind of, we're not wanting them to get on the conveyor belt. Absolutely, we're wanting them to think for themselves. But as far as like the social aspect,
you seem to be thinking for them.
You could say that to someone who was sending their kids to a public school without asking them what they want to do. You know, I think that's telling kids what to think and what to do. Schools, that's exactly what they do. You have to learn this, 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 and this. That's telling kids what to think.
That's obviously taking a choice away from the kids as well. And I've got a question about that. Next, from receiving death threats to warning of calls to Child Protective Services, Taylor and Nick say they're sharing their unschooling journey online has angered a lot of people. So we're going to talk about what feedback they're getting, pro and con, after the break.
The most viral we've ever gotten was an image of Hudson raking the garden, and I had text over the screen saying, I asked my 6-year-old what he wanted to learn in 1st grade, and he wanted to learn how to transplant different plants. It was like 20,000 comments, mean comment, just roasting it, saying that you're a liar, really attacking me and some attacking him. So we got a lot of backlash for that.
We say we need immigrants, we've got immigrants. Why this big push to arrest these people and get them out of the country?
There are millions of people trying to do it the right way, and they're being cheated. I've never seen the hatred I've seen in the last 5 months. I've never seen it like this. These are men and women, American patriots who put their lives on the line to make this country safe again and protect us all. And to compare them to the Nazis, for God's sakes?
I think a lot of people were offended by that. That's tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime. What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BCE, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
You can give us a call at our toll-free number, 844-407-6375. You can text Phil to 50505, or you can check out our website, www.drphilgold.com.
All right. No way you can miss it.
The GrillBot is the world's first and only automatic grill cleaner. Simply turn it on, set the timer, and let your GrillBot do the cleaning for you. The onboard computer chip creates a randomized pattern with each of the 3 brushes, ensuring full coverage of your grill, deep cleaning every corner. The GrillBot does literally all the work, so you don't have to.
I was skeptical. The first time you pick up GrillBot, you know it's serious quality, and it cleans incredibly well.
The GrillBot works with hot or cold grills, so you can use it before or after you grill. Just turn it on, close the lid, and hang out with your dinner guests, and the GrillBot does all the cleaning for you. The quick-release brushes are dishwasher safe, and with the rechargeable lithium-ion battery, it's easy to make sure your GrillBot is always ready to clean. Check out the GrillBot, available in black or red. The GrillBot makes the perfect holiday gift for the griller in your life. Try the GrillBot risk-free for 60 days with our no-questions-asked satisfaction guarantee. Visit grillbots.com.
Hudson always has an interest in going camping.
He wanted to challenge himself, and so he did 48 hours straight. He camped overnight.
Wanted to support him in any way we could, and we got a fire going. We built our own teepee. This was all just him leading the way. Some people would be concerned about spending 48 hours outside, a 6-year-old by himself.
To most people, that sounds like really intense, right? We're sending out our child outside for 48 hours, but we know our property.
We know what our 6-year-old is capable of because we spend all day with them. We're watching them. We know that he's competent in taking care of himself.
And camping is good for little boys.
Well, parents Taylor and Nick say instead of sending their children to school, they have chosen to unschool them, allowing their young boys to only learn what they're interested in. And we can agree on one thing for sure, and that is that the school model is not a great one.
Correct.
This one size fits all, and I don't know how else the model can adapt right now, but it clearly isn't working great. I mean, 30-something% of fifth graders can't read a fundamental sentence. 30% of eighth graders can't read. 19% of graduates can barely read the instructions on a prescription. So the system's not working.
They're afraid to fail kids, so that's one.
Well, they don't get money if
happening.
they fail kids.
Right.
They get money when they progress them on to the next level. So they keep pushing kids on in a model that clearly isn't great.
Right.
So I get that. You've gotten a lot of negative social comments about this. Why did you go public with it to begin with? Why did y'all put it out there?
That's a good question. So